Hello, I'm Eric Smith. Welcome again to People and Politics. We're so glad you're with us. I'm with my co-host, Eric Brian Smith Jr. He's related to me, as you know. And today is, for me, just a very special conversation. Our guest is a person who's been a friend of mine for many years and a real friend of this city. He served very honorably as a member of our Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, came up through the ranks, became a director, later ran and became the sheriff of Duval County. And today, he is the president of Edward Waters College, a college with a rich tradition of excellence and reaching out and helping people. And I'm so proud to welcome my good friend and Brian's good friend, Nat Glover.
Glad to meet you.
Welcome to the show.
Glad to meet both of you guys on your show. You know, I've been knowing Eric for years, and just having an opportunity to talk to you, Brian, before the show, it's been quite an experience, and this just seemed to be a good team here.
Well, you know, it's, I know you don't think, you never thought you'd be a college president, but you looked the part. The first thing Brian said out there behind the studio was, you look professorial today.
Well, Brian was kind. I feel like a college president, and I have to tell you that took some getting there. You know, sometimes people ask me, how do you make the transition from sheriff to college president? And for the first 2.5 years, I was hoping they would help me with that. But really, when I look at my entire life, I feel like that somehow I've been being prepared to do this.
I wanted to ask you about how you became college president. I mentioned to you on the show there was a great piece in the Financial News and Daily Record about how it came to be, but I'd love to hear it in your own words. My favorite line in there was when you were meeting with UNF President John Delaney, and he says, you know, why don't you go over there and take care of Edward Waters College? And you said, don't start saying that, because if it gets out, people start thinking it's a good idea. And next thing you know.
Well, you know, when John Delaney says something, people listen, you know. So I certainly didn't want him carrying that thought around and saying it. But yeah, I really did have that story, and it kind of told the story about me being stopped by a lady. I was, of course, retired, having a pretty good retirement. I'm recommending retirement for those who can get to that point too. And this lady stopped me, and she would not let me go. She would not allow me to disengage. And at that time, the murder rate had spiked. And she indicated that I should be doing something to help the city and help young men. And I was trying to tell her that I was talking to the sheriffs and the mayor, trying to do what I could do, being a former sheriff and a retired sheriff and enjoying my retirement. But she would not disengage, and she insisted that I did something, and she was crying, and as a result of that, I had to do something. So I called John Delaney and asked him would he talk to me a minute about this, because I had talked to a lady who had actually said to me some things that made me feel very, very awful about myself. And he said, Nat, come over, I've been meaning to call you. And I went over to talk to him, and we started with the Jacksonville commitment and his special advisor. And and that's how I kind of got into education. And at that time, I think the Lord was preparing me to go to Edward Waters College, introduced me to higher education as John Delaney's special advisor, and then that was the launch pad for me going over to Edward Waters as president. I often tell John that if I had known that was the case, I would have paid closer attention to what was going on and learned a little bit more while I was there.
You know, I was a volunteer professor at Edward Waters about 15 or 20 years ago, but they couldn't get enough of a class up for me. I don't know whether they knew I was going to be their professor or what it was, but it didn't make. But it caused me to think a lot about the school, and I'd like to encourage people that are watching our program that have skills to reach out to help Edward Waters, and most importantly to reach into their pocketbook if they can, because so many good things have come out of that institution, and we need to keep it. You came out of that institution, and you can name other people over the years from way back that were a part of it.
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, Edward Waters is my alma mater. The mayor, his first 2 years of higher education was at Edward Waters. Rudolph McKissick, Betty Hosendorf, Councilman Reggie Brown. You know, we actually, the sheriff of Columbia County now is also and alumnus from Edward Waters College. So we have produced great people who've been of great service to this community, and we are an HBCU. We're the only HBCU here in Jacksonville.
Historic Black institution.
Historic Black College or University. We have 4 in the state of Florida: Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, and Florida Memorial. Memorial is in Miami, Bethune-Cookman, Daytona, and of course Florida A&M in Tallahassee, and Edward Waters College in Jacksonville. And my challenge at Edward Waters College is, of course, we serve predominantly African Americans, but we have a number of white students at our school, and that's I know sometimes people think that only black kids go there, but that's not the case. And personally, I would like to see about 20% diversity of white kids at Edward Waters. I want to kind of change that, because that is a conducive environment for young people to learn, get the kind of nurturing you get at an HBCU, so they can eventually be productive, tax-paying, revenue-producing citizens. So we're certainly could be accommodating to other students as well as black students. But as I was talking to you earlier, Brian, is that, you know, my students, over 90% of them are on financial aid, which means that I don't have that many parents sitting home writing checks, remitting them to the college to keep their kids in college. So as a result of that, resources is always a challenge for us. The school run on gifts and grants and financial aid students. But I'm out trying to raise additional resources because I wanted to shore up the campus. I want the campus to look nice. And if you go by there now, you will see there's been a transition. We've gotten great help from Michael Ward, who actually contributed to the college $1 million.
CSX.
And it actually was the Michael and Kim Ward's Foundation. And of course, it was a $1 million gift, but it was a challenge grant. So I had to go out and raise $2 million. Michael likes to kid me about when he told me that I'll give you $1 million, but you got to go out and raise 2 to get the $1 million, and you got 6 months to do it. He said I had a terrified look on my face when I said it. But it was a challenge, and that was the nature of the grant, and that was something that we need to do. Because I reached out to this community, and the community answered with a resounding, supportive voice, and so we were able to do that.
Are you ready to announce your $1 million commitment?
I'm getting very close. I've got to talk with the last of my children about having no inheritance. But
I'm just teasing. But you know what I did hear?
What a great guy this guy is.
I did hear this man here say he wants to be a volunteer professor there. So maybe there's an opportunity in a future semester. We don't know, huh?
And that's indicative of Eric Smith. Always willing to serve and finding the place where his service is needed. And so that doesn't surprise me. He has to know that I will also take him up on that. But
I'm scared.
but I certainly will welcome that. An HBCU environment is a kind of a nurturing environment, and of course our students, there is a great tradition. A number of our students want to maintain and want to go to HBCU. Their parents went to HBCUs, and that kind of thing. But when you have that many of your students on financial aid, you get a number of students who come to the school with a number of challenges. Now, I'm one of those individuals who I don't want to lose one student, you know, and after we kind of typically get a student in, they get Pell Grant, they get Florida Frag, they get some UNCF gift, United Negro College Funds scholarships, and then to a great degree they end up having to make a loan to finish out. And so sometimes we lose kids who have to go home because they can't make the ends meet. That's when I go out and raise funds so we can give them a $2,000 scholarship or $3,000 scholarship to keep them in school. And so that's a real big challenge for me.
Well, the other thing is there's so many ways people can help. People that own businesses that could employ a student part-time. I know many of your students probably would like to be able to make extra money to, I made extra money to eat when I was in college, I remember that. But, and there are people that can be mentors, people that just seeing you for the first time would say, well, you know, he was a great sheriff, a great public servant, and I'm just going to cut a check for a couple of $100 and send it. So where would people call you or send a check, or how could this be done?
Well, of course, we Edward Waters College, 1658 Kings Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32209, and of course my phone number is 904-470-8012. And of course they can go online and give as well. I just would like to say that the community has been very, very forthcoming. As you know, since I've been there, we put a police substation on campus, and that community needed that substation, and it's working out extremely well. But what many people don't know is that that substation is paid for. The sheriff actually contributed $900,000 of forfeiture money. I mean, so the drug dealers helped us with that, helped us build that. Well, the community actually contributed over $900,000, something like $980,000. I mean, from different businesses, the Michael Wards and the Chartrans and the Weavers and all of those people, you know, Harry Frisch, you know, a number of the people. I hate to start calling names because I'll miss someone. David Steinmark. I mean, it's a number of people contributed, and we made that happen. Close to $1 million came from the community, and then the college actually put in $750,000. So the building itself is paid for. Now here's the great thing about that building. We have around 200 police officers working out of that neighborhood substation. That's the only neighborhood substation that we have. In addition to that, we got 2 criminal justice classrooms in there. So our criminal justice students are studying criminal justice in an environment where you have working police officers and they're interacting with those officers. In addition to that, we have a forensic laboratory in there, you know, the CSI type thing that you see on TV. So we're doing some great things over there. And I want that criminal justice program to be a national recognized program. We already state recognized and regionally recognized, and people come from around the region. But I think when you got a former sheriff and you got a police substation, and we're not talking about campus police, we're talking about city police officers, deputy sheriffs working out of the substation, and students studying that. That's a pretty good environment, kind of like medical interns working in the hospital.
Well,
I got a question.
I'm old. I'll forget this.
Okay, I'll let him do it.
Police legal advisor. That's when I met you, and I was Dale Carson's police legal advisor. If you ever need one of those to hang around the criminal justice system, you just call me.
I'll do that, and probably it would be a good thing for you to share some of that with them. These kids are eager to learn. I go down and lecture them occasionally and talk to them about the real practice of law enforcement and all the facets involved in the criminal justice field, and they are usually pretty well captivated, and so you're certainly welcome, and we'll set that up. As a matter of fact, when you go down, we'll go down together.
Oh, excellent. I'd like to. Didn't you have a question, Brian?
I think I did. You've been taking all my screen time, so I'm going to take, maybe I'll ask 2. So my question for you is, and it kind of relates to your question, Dad, was the Edward Waters College experience. It brought leaders like you, and you mentioned Betty Holzendorf and Reggie Brown. I don't even remember everyone that you mentioned, but what is it about the experience at Edward Waters College that brought out leadership in you and some of those other folks, and also people today?
Well, you know, it's first thing, it's kind of a nurturing environment, and when I was in school, and we got about 850 students, and the professors know their students, and when I was there, if I missed the chapel program, you know, we had to all go to chapel on Wednesday, and we still have a chapel program on Wednesday. If I missed and I saw one of my professors, later on he'll say, "You were not in chapel," you know, and you were not a number. In addition to that, it was a conducive environment for learning. For me, I was home in the community, and it was one of those things where it was easier for me. Let me just say that most of my students, they come to us with some level of drama in their lives, so they need something extra to get through. Well, let me just say this. What comes to us and what we turn out is a different product. And let me just also say, some of these students need a little more. You know, we're not all created equal when it comes to preparation for higher learning. And so we take them where they are and get them to where they need to be.
You know, this criminal justice program really sounds exciting, but I'd like to know, and I think our viewers would be very interested to know, what other kinds of degrees and specialties are found at Edward Waters. And I'd also like you to just pretend like there are a few potential students out there and tell them why you want them at Edward Waters.
Yeah, well, you know, I talk about criminal justice and for obvious reasons, but we have a number of programs. Our leading programs would be criminal justice and business. And of course, we got programs, and you get a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology, you know, biology, mathematics, and that kind of thing. But business, criminal justice, and one of our stellar degrees in education, elementary education, and that's where we need to put a whole lot of emphasis on getting young men prepared to go into the elementary schools. We don't have, particularly African American young men, in the elementary schools in front of those elementary students, and particularly in the African American community. As you know, 73% of the babies born to African American females are born to single parents. So sometimes these young people do not get an opportunity to see a positive African American male role model until they get to high school. So what we've done at Edward Waters College, with the cooperation of Nikolai Vitti and the school system, we've initiated a program called Call Me Mister. And we've gone out and identified some African American young men, and we are giving them a scholarship to come to school, but they have to major in elementary education. And after they graduate, they have to go into an inner city school and teach for 5 years. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to, of course, inject African American males into the elementary schools so that some of these young kids will be able to see an African American male at an earlier point in their lives. So just some great things that I'm excited about. Just build a new building over there, a Center for the Prevention of Health Disparities, where we are doing some research to actually look at the disparate number of individuals in that community with high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and those things. They have higher levels and higher incidence of those maladies than they have in other areas of the city. We need to look at that and find out why. That's the Newtown area. So we're doing some great things over there, and we're continuing to ask for the support of the community to help us. In Jacksonville, we got a perfect situation for our students. We got a state university here. We got a private university, the State University, of course, the University of North Florida, the private university, Jacksonville University. You got a community college, Florida State College of Jacksonville, and you got a HBCU. I want this community to see all of us the same. I want this community to support Edward Waters College like they support the other institutions. And if we get that, we'll have a perfect situation here in Jacksonville. When one of those students decide to go to any one of those 4 institutions, they don't have to compromise value, they don't have to compromise anything. They will go to an institution that's well funded, well supported by this community, and they get the best education that they can get anywhere.
A quick wild card question. This is such a military city. Do you have a Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps program, a ROTC program here?
Eric, we did have an ROTC program. When I got there, it was not functional. I am looking at that. I would like to reintroduce ROTC, but as is my nature, I want to make certain that when we reintroduce our ROTC program, it will be one of the best in the country.
I want to go back a little bit to when you were sheriff. You were a very popular sheriff. You served with a very popular mayor. You were popular because of your neighborhood walks and donating pension to charity. What was special about that time? Because I look at that period of time, that 8 years, and I think it seemed like the city was really running on all cylinders. It wasn't without its problems and controversies, and never will be. And I know we've had budget problems in recent years, but when you look back, why did it work the way it did?
Well, one of the things, I mean, John Delaney and I were good friends, and he had worked in the state attorney's office, and I was a police officer, detective, and we knew each other, and we were kind of contrasts. I mean, John, of course, he's white. I'm African American. He's Republican. I was Democrat, but we were close. We were close, and he would tell me. He said, "Look, here's what I need, Sheriff." I said, "It's done. It's done." And if I said, "Mr. Mayor, here's what I need," it was done. Mm-hmm. So we actually worked extremely well together. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying anything or implying anything with that.
And I wasn't suggesting that. I'm
just saying it worked, and we were all committed to the city and what was best for the city, and it worked. But you know the funny thing about that, Brian? I was a historical sheriff. First African American sheriff elected in the state of Florida since Reconstruction. But I also believe that all of that was preparing me to be president of Edward Waters College.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, we have come to the end of a fascinating half an hour. We're both proud to call you friend. We're proud of the work you're doing at Edward Waters College. I know that our audience would like to help you out, and that phone number again is
470-8012.
470-8012.
Yeah.
And thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And our guest on People and Politics today has been Nat Glover, president of Edward Waters College. Please help in any way you can, mentoring, money, you name it. I'm Eric Smith. This is my co-host, Brian Smith, also known as Eric in other circles. We hope you have a great week, and see you next time.